Shapiro is an author of short stories and translator of English classics into Yiddish. Most of his writings, his original writings, not translations, deal with Jewish life on the past. But his style is so modern that I consider him a very good teacher because he translates the life of the past to us in a way that we can relate to it. And one of his stories is called Wings, and it is about Sukkot, about the festival of Sukkot. And let's begin with this. My father never built a sukkah for Sukkot. Nevertheless, we still had a sukkah, for the sacred festival. What's more, it was a beautiful one. All year long, it was simply a plain pantry room, where one could find a sack of potatoes, a string of onions, a barrel of borscht, and other edibles. It bore not even the slightest trace of holiness, and no one ever dreamt that it served as a sukkah. If anyone had looked up to the ceiling, he would have seen a clever device that would convert the pantry to a sukkah. The ceiling was made of bars and crates. But who would glance up to the ceiling in the middle of the year? Therefore, everyone thought it was simply a pantry. Still, each year, on the day before Sukkot, the room became a sukkah. My older brother climbed up on the roof, fused with something, and suddenly 2 big black wings opened up before the pantry. The bars were immediately covered with green boards and thatching. The potatoes and onions vanished. A white cloth was draped over the borscht barrel, and a table, chair, and couch appeared. My father faithfully fulfilled the precept of residing in the sukkah, eating, drinking, and sleeping there. The entire house, usually higher than the pantry, was now lower than it. The pantry now proudly spread its wings over the house as though to say, I am a sukkah, seemingly ready to fly to the blue sky and bright sun. One year, the first day of festival passed without incident. The sukkah felt like home. We ate and slept in it. We lived there. Most importantly, the sukkah was privileged to hear sacred discussions concerning itself. My father and brother chewed over the laws concerning the sukkah, how high it might be, with what it may be covered, and many other details. The sukkah heard all this, and no doubt thought that it could even satisfy the most pious Jew. And it was absolutely right. But the second day brought misfortune. From early morning, a huge, dark cloud hung low and heavy over the sukkah, as though about to crash down on it and crush it. The wind moved the sukkah's wings, and they squealed softly and plaintively. Everyone in the house was vexed. Father kept looking gloomily and anxiously through the window, shaking his head. Nevertheless, we ate lunch in the sukkah. We were still hopeful, but in the midst of the meal, we heard some sort of noise on the roof, as if a tiny creature was scampeting around on the thatching. We looked up and then silently started at our own plates. Everyone ate quickly and quietly. A minute later, one of us whipped his cheek. Then something wet and shiny splashed down to a bowl, followed by another drop and a third. Father rose. It's no use. Moshe, lower the wings. My brother stood and untied the rope that hung down from the ceiling, a creaking noise, and then with a slam something fell over our heads. A grey workday shadow entered, expanded and covered the entire length and breadth of the sukkah. The snow-white tablecloth, the silver candelabra, and the entire festival set table looked odd and strange, like new silver embroidery on a dirty prayer shawl. Near the wall, beneath its white covering, the borscht barrel seemed to mock us, like a truculent slave humiliating his master. And avoiding one another's glances, we swiftly slipped out of the sukkah. The sukkah had become a pantry again. Well, I think people have unique abilities to fill the time and space with meaning. The example of this story is when sukkah suddenly became pantry and the other way around. The synagogue I personally grew up at had no building. It shared the space. It rented a space, in fact, in a place with many other organizations. There was no dedicated prayer hall, just a regular concert hall, small concert hall. But things changed when the community gathered and started to sing Matovu. And in fact, there's a tradition that says that when a Jewish person comes into a synagogue, the traditional phrase you say is Matovu Halecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Israel, just to emphasize how beautiful this synagogue is. But what happened with my synagogue, the synagogue of my childhood, is that it was not synagogue at all. But the moment we recited Matovu, it became the synagogue. And a regular hall became a synagogue. And I think I looked for the phrase, I looked for the way I tried to find the words to express it. And Abraham Joshua Heschel helped me. And this is what he called architecture of time. In his book, The Sabbath, Its Meaning of a Modern Man, he writes, Jewish ritual may be characterized as the art of significant forms in time, as architecture of time. Most of its observances, the Sabbath, the new moon, the festivals, the sabbatical, and the Jubilee year, depend on a certain hour of the day or season of the year. It's, for example, the evening, morning, or afternoon that brings with it the call to prayer. The main themes of faith lie in the realm of time. And God blessed the seventh day and made it holy. There is no reference to the record of creation, to any object in space that would be endowed with the quality of holiness. And that's a very interesting concept, that the time made holy during the creation, not space. This is a radical departure from accustomed religious thinking. The mystical mind would accept that after heaven and earth have been established, God would create a holy place, a holy mountain or a holy spring, whereupon a sanctuary is to be established. Yet it seems as if to the Bible it is holiness of time. The Sabbath, for example, which comes first, or festivals, or time is holy in Judaism, not space. When we build a sukkah, we don't just build physical space. We build ideas. We fill the time, these 7 days, with meaning. Rabbi Greenberg writes, the move into the sukkah is a moment from the certainty of fixed position towards the liberating insecurity of freedom. participants open up to the world, to the unexpected winds, to the surprise setback, as well as the planted gain. The joy of Sukkot is a celebration of the privilege of standing on the road to freedom, knowing that to finish the task is not decisive, but failure to start is. The Sukkah provides a corrective to the natural tendency of becoming excessively attached to turf. It instructs Jews not to become overly rooted. After the heaviness of high holidays, after Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, after endless repentance and deep reflection, we begin the journey with pure joy, the joy of freedom, freedom from possessions, freedom from everything, community, unity with nature and yourself. Chag Sameach.